What up YouTube? How are you feeling today? Hope you're doing great, hope you're doing fantastic. Back with another Division 2 video and back with another TU16 build. And this is my heroic countdown build. You can use this everywhere else as well. So just dive in, have some fun and just survive. 1.7 million armor and you can hit up to that 1.1, 1.2 million crit shots if everything is synergized. And of course everything is procced. This is again a lot of fun to play with. You have some survivability, you have some damage output, and you can just shred through everything that the game has to offer. And I'm calling this a heroic countdown build, but you can still use it on heroic anywhere else in the game. But you need a little bit more survivability in the heroic countdowns because you get shot from multiple points. Just like if you go for a control point, for example, then you can shot from multiple points. But this, with that 1.7 million armor and still up to that decent damage output, it can be a lot of fun and can help you out shred through all the content that the game has to offer. Legendary might be a little bit difficult. It depends on how your team is playing, because this is still a team synergy. And yes, you can play this solo as well, but you have to watch out a little bit more because everybody is just focused on you and not the team running around you. Normally I won't show you that much countdown gameplay because we know the damage outputs are a lot different. You can get boosted by your team, you can get boosted by all the countermeasures that the countdown has to offer. But this is a straight up countdown build, and that's why I'm showing you some gameplay of countdown in the background. Again, I will show you a few more snippets of gameplay throughout me explaining this whole build. So let's dive right in and let's start with our specialization as usual. And for our specialization, we are using a technician specialization. And why are we using a technician specialization? Mainly for our linked laser pointer, giving us an extra amplified damage with our gun and with our chest piece. And then next to that, it's always nice to have one more skill core on your build, so your skills do a little bit more damage or have a little bit more pellets in there. It depends on what skills you're using. Then starting with my main weapon, and that's the Kingbreaker. Again, this is 0 proficiency. I showed you one build, just one build with proficiency on that gun, and everybody didn't really like it. So I'm just gonna show you everything without proficiency. So everything that you see in the game can only be higher in the damage output, instead it only be lower. So 0 proficiency, 105.8k total damage, an RPM of almost 750, and we have a mag of 50. Everything is maxed out, and I chose to go for damage to target out of cover, and we went for perfect flatline. And this is the talent that always be on the Kingbreaker. Perfect flatline amplifies the total weapon damage by 20% to pulsed enemies, and after 2 kills applies a pulse to the next enemy you hit. But that doesn't really matter because we are running around with that linked laser pointer. As you can see, my mods are twice critical hit chance, the linked laser pointer, and those extra 20 rounds minus the 10% reload speed. For my secondary gun, I'm using the rock and roll. This is the named ACS-12, and I would highly recommend using an ACS-12 or the rock and roll that I'm rocking right now if you have a build that needs stacks. This is just the easiest and quickest way to build up stacks, to get that extra damage output in, to get that extra survivability in. It depends on what gear set you're running. Again, this is maxed out. Again, I chose for damage to target out of cover. And why the rock and roll? Because the rock and roll comes with the talent perfectly extra. That gives us an extra 50% magazine size. And that's why this rock and roll, this named ACS-12s, have a mag of 30. A damage output of a total of 260.3 and an RPM of almost 350. And then for my handgun, we're using the Busy Little Bee. Normally, I would say just go for any handgun that you like, get it up to that proficiency level. It's just an easy and quick way to do so. You can still do it, but this busy little bee, guys, gives you a lot more damage output. Because we're running around with 1.7 million armor, we are losing a little bit of our red cores, of course, and then indirectly losing some damage output as well. If you have the busy little bee, definitely go for it. And it's almost a must-have on any single build, especially if you have high on armor. And why? Because it comes with the busy little bee talent. Each shot to a different target will give 1 stack up to 10. Each stack will give you 20% weapon damage increase. And stacks will activate once the agent switches weapons and will last for 10 seconds. So you can gain at least 20% extra weapon damage for 10 seconds if you just shoot one guy. But we know in Countdown, if you use your foam, if you trap them down, or if a whole group is coming out of their spawn point, just open up your busy little bee, just spray and pray, shoot a bunch of enemies, and you will at least hit 3 enemies, and that will give you an extra 60% damage output. And that's why, if you use this busy little bee, and if you shoot, for example, those 3 targets, we can hit up to that 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 million damage. It depends on how many targets you hit with the busy little bee. Just switch over to your Kingbreaker again, and then shoot everybody down. In my opinion, the best way to go is just run in with your ACS 12, open up your ACS 12, make sure that the stacks are there, then switch over to your busy little bee, shoot a few guys, just add that busy little bee talent on a few guys, for example 3, and then switch over to your Kingbreaker. You will see that the stacks are high up, then you're gaining an extra 60% if you hit 3 people, and then you will see those damage numbers with that Kingbreaker go up, and it is a beast, guys. 1.7 million armor and still shredding through everything. And then over to the build, starting with my mask, and we are using the Strikers battle gear. Yes, guys, Strikers is so good, especially for your damage output, but it lacks a little bit in survivability. But like I said, 1.7 million armor, the survivability is there. With Strikers, we're gaining an extra 15% weapon handling, 15% fire rate, and of course that Strikers gamble. Weapon hits increase a total weapon damage of 0.65%, stacking up to that 100 times. So gaining an extra 65% weapon damage. 1 stack is lost per second between 0 and 50, and 2 stacks are lost per second between 50 and 100. We're not using the chest, we're not using the backpack, so we're gaining an extra 65% weapon damage while we are our max stacks. And it's pretty easy, like I explained, just open up your ACS 12, open up your rock and roll, and you will be fast at those stacks. I chose to go for everything critical hit chance or critical hit damage with armor on there. So starting with my mask, I have armor, critical hit chance, and critical hit chance mod. For my holster, exactly the same. Armor and critical hit damage. For my knee pads, again armor and critical hit damage. And for the last piece of Strikers that we use on this build, these are my gloves, and again armor and critical hit damage. I always like to go to at least 50% critical hit chance. So make sure the whole build has critical hit chance of 50% at least. Maybe go to that 55 and then stack and do critical hit damage. And that's why I went for my gloves critical hit damage, my knee pads critical hit damage, because I already reached that personal cap of 50% critical hit chance. And then for my chest, we're using a Fenris chest. Why? Because we're gaining an extra assault rifle damage. You can go for Gruppo as well, but then you need to be around that 55% critical hit chance. Else Fenris will be better, because of course the crit shots might be a little bit higher with Gruppo, but there are non-crit shots as well, and those are higher when you're running around with a Fenris if your critical hit chance is underneath 50%. Again, fully maxed out. These ones are full red. So weapon damage, critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and a critical hit chance mod on there. And we chose to go for spotter. Why spotter? Because this again amplifies our weapon and skill damage by 15%. So the combination of perfect flatline and then spotter gives us a 35% amplified damage. And don't forget guys, this is amplified damage. So when you stack up your striker points, when you're gaining that extra damage from that striker, that's 65%, the amplification will amplify your full weapon damage. So it's not your base damage, it's the last damage you can do. And this is why you can still shred through every single thing within the game. And then to finish it off and still have an armor core, a weapon core and a skill core, it's our beloved Memento. And we're gaining an extra critical hit chance with that mod of 6%. We all know the Memento, this is just great for survivability. This is one of the best backpacks to run around with, in my opinion, and especially within a survivability build like this. We are having 5 blue cores and 2 red cores because we have that Memento active. And of course, we're gaining an extra 30% weapon damage, 3% arm regeneration and 30% skill efficiency. So in total, without the busy little bee, we're gaining almost 100% extra weapon damage. But if you start shooting enemies with your busy little bee, it starts at an extra 20. So gaining up to that 115%, 135, 155, 175, 195. You can get up to that extra 200% weapon damage if you shoot 10 targets. That doesn't really happen that much, but if you do, you can gain up to 295 extra weapon damage output. With that 1.7 million armor, you are just a straight tank shredding through freaking everything. And this is the whole overview of the build. As I showed you, the technician specialization went for the Kingbreaker, the ACS 12 named variant the Rock and Roll, the Busy Little Bee, 4 pieces of striker, all are on armor and went for critical hit chance or critical hit damage. The Fenris with spotter for an extra multiplicative damage and an extra assault rifle damage. And then of course to top it off, to go for the Memento, giving you survivability, giving you an extra skill core and giving you some extra weapon damage as well. I chose to go for my Revive Hive and I chose to go for my chem launcher with the Riot Foam. You can go for whatever you like. You can change the Revive Hive, you can change the Riot Foam, but with the Riot Foam it's very, very nice to just trap people, especially within Countdown. If they come out of their spawn, just shoot down that foam and just trap them. Make sure that your striker stacks are up to point. Get your busy little bee out, shoot a few people, gaining that extra weapon damage, and then open up your Kingbreaker just to shred through that whole freaking group. Or you can just run in and fire your foam at one guy to make sure that your striker is capped out. Shoot your busy little bee at one guy, gaining an extra 20%, switching over to your Kingbreaker and then just shred through them. Again guys, this is so freaking fun to play with and will definitely help you out with Countdown or any other heroic gameplay that you like to play. For my Hive, I chose to go for 10% Reviver armor repair, 5% range and 4.9% duration, because we are running around with the Memento and of course with our technician we are at tier 2. So we have a few extra charges, so you can pick up 3 people or you can pick up yourself 3 times before you have to wait 163 seconds to get your Hive back, and this is very nice. Or pick yourself up 3 times, or of course pick up 3 different teammates. And for the Riot Foam, exactly the same. We have 4 pieces of ammo, guys. This helps out quite a lot, especially if you start to shoot down a biggie. Just shoot down the foam. When the foam goes down, shoot it down again. Or just if you are stacking up your striker points, if you're stacking up your busy little bee, just shoot that foam around, switch over and just easily shoot them down. It is very, very nice because again, we have a tier 2 on this Riot Foam and I chose to go for 9.8% in share duration and a 1 extra ammo. But that's pretty much it for the whole build. Let's jump over to the stats real quick. we have 105.7% weapon damage, but this is base. If this is fully procced, if you go to a full proc of the busy little bee, we can gain 295% extra weapon damage. We have 50% critical hit chance and 93% critical hit damage. And then switching over to our armor, as you can see, 1.66 million armor. And that is without the armor regeneration. It's on 0, but we know we're gaining an extra 3% armor regeneration with our Memento backpack. And this will boost up our survivability as well, and not only our damage output. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comments down below what you like about this build. Are you using this build already? Are you using a different combination? Are you going for the chest piece for strikers? Are you going for the backpack of strikers? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to know what you think about this build. Definitely test this build out. This is a perfect heroic countdown build. But that's it. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to smash that like button, hit that subscribers button, and of course the notification bell. PurePrime out!